And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Bernie Schwartz, the first 75 years. The video you're about to see is a tribute to a legendary pool shark, salesman, friend, husband, and father. I'm Bruce Schwartz, and Bernie the Hawk Schwartz is my dad.
I think he is a knack for sales. No matter what he would have sold, he could have sold ice to an Eskimo. And I would say that that is one of the qualities that I am so grateful for that I got for him, was just a great work ethic.
Bernie the Hawk Schwartz, he's a legend. You talk to people that are his age or a little younger, like when you say Bernie Schwartz, they know the Hawk. There is so much that can be said about my dad. He was the guy that everybody loved to be around, and he still is. Always a joke and a smile, there when you need him, and full of wisdom and street smarts.
He was like one of the guys, I guess, is the way I would say it, and always extremely nice to me, warm. I always felt very comfortable when I went into their home, and whatever we did, you know, he would always come up and ask me how I'm doing and what's going on, and in the Bernie way, so it's like, hey, what's going on?
It's always like up to Bernie to, you know, make a joke or pull out his toothpick or, you know, crack some sort of a Pittsburgh joke. You know, I think we've all seen his sense of humor, you know, help us through things we've been going through.
I think a lot of times if I introduce him to someone, or if he may meet somebody that he doesn't know, he might wonder what their angle is. That's just his, you know, meeting some, what's this guy's angle? He's always been very caring, giving, and generous, and that I'll always, you know, remember and be grateful for.
I can always call him and talk to him. We can confide in each other, you know, a lot of the times about things that are going on. We might not talk for a long time, but we can, you know, cut right to the chase, and you can really be honest and know he's always going to be there to listen, and he's always got good advice when it comes to the kids and when it comes to Bruce, for sure.
You know, Bernie Schwartz, you know, this is a guy that Bruce and myself have talked about and still talk about daily, because he's, you know, I know he's Bruce's father and all, but he's just a very charismatic guy. He's a guy you want to be around. He's a guy that just, I think everybody around him feels better when they're around him. He's one of those guys, he's got that rare stuff.
Well, I learned a lot from my father growing up. He has very high morals. He taught me how to be savvy, but to be a really hard worker.
To me, he was bigger than life. And let me tell you something, he's a tough act to follow. I mean, the guy beat Minnesota Fats in pool. I mean, come on. You pretty much have to walk on the moon to top that. Bernie's been amazing since day one. The Hawk was born on November 2nd, 1935 at Pasvin Hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to Harry and Gittel Schwartz, immigrants from Russia and Lithuania. Unfortunately, Harry passed away when Bernie was just 6 years old. So Gittel had to work very hard at Filner's Bakery in Pittsburgh to raise Bernie and his brother Paul. His nickname was Graham Cracker in those days, and they all lived in the projects. Two of his best friends at the time were Willie Curitin and Marshall Baker. Money was tight, and that's probably why Bernie became such a good hustler and entrepreneur, as they would say today. As a young kid of 6 or 7 years old, he was already honing his skills by selling pins, pennants, and anything else he could outside of Forbes Field in Pittsburgh.
But alas, good things don't last forever. Gittel, Bernie's mother, lost her job at the bakery, and the Schwartzes had to move to 5860 Hobart Street. We call it the third floor, they call it the penthouse.
And it wasn't long before Bernie found his way into the pool rooms to make the big money.
He won the trophy like a little bit of years ago. He won the trophy of playing pool.
In 1970, after winning the World 9-Ball Championship at the Stardust Hotel in Las Vegas, Bernie returned to the Hawk's Nest to a hero's welcome. Bernie the Hawk Schwartz became famous.
I'm proud of my papa.
He loves his pool.
Anything he does, he can always relate it back to a time where he was, you know, playing and touring the country and the world, and you know, going up against some of the highest shooters in the 9-ball category and winning the 1970 World Ball, 9-ball championship. I think that's got to be one of his all-time highest moments.
He was actually voted into the Pennsylvania Sports Jewish Hall of Fame in 2002, I think it was. And there was a big billboard, welcome, congratulations, Bernie Schwartz, congratulations on your induction into the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame.
Bruce was real good at it. Bernie, I heard how good he was and saw the trophies, but never actually played with him too much. It was always a bit of a mystery, but the whole concept of the Hawk and Bernie and pool playing was always pretty cool, part of the mystique growing up.
And I remember one day, he showed me this big trophy, and I didn't believe it at all. And I had to actually ask Bernie, and I had the courage to ask him, like, what is this? Is this, really you? And he goes, yep, I was 9-ball champ of the world.
Bernie was a real athlete and ladies' man. He was a top-notch bowler, best softball player in town, a great swimmer, but when it came down to it, the ladies loved him. He was a real stud. Bernie Schwartz and Ruth Finkelstein met in 1957. A short time later, they married while Bernie was in the Army. Bernie and Ruthie settled in and started a family in the Squirrel Hill section of Pittsburgh. There was my sister Hillary, Marcy, and yours truly, me. Ruthie was a real leader who ran the whole show at home. She made the rules, paid the bills, and kept all the plates spinning. Ruthie was smart, funny, beautiful, and original, just like Bernie.
They used to travel together while my father played pool on the road. And they would stay at little hole-in-the-wall motels.
For years, they traveled around the country together, hustling pool and winning championships. Then, in 1965, they opened up the Hawk's Nest Billiard Club in Squirrel Hill.
My mother and father had one of the most passionate marriages of any couple I know.
They were a tag team, whether they went and played cards together, or poker, and different card games used to play, whether it was here in Florida, and they'd go on trips and play cards, and you'd always see them together.
When Ruthie became ill, Bernie stayed by her side, caring for her while holding the family together. Sadly, my mom passed away in July of 2001. The entire family still misses her deeply.
I got to meet a lot of Bernie's friends. The guy that got his tickets, his name was Irv. But it wasn't Irv, it was Oiv.
Bernie had a lot of friends with weird, peculiar names. Names like Handbone, Cornbread Red, Bunny Rogoff, Yudi, Chooky, and of course, the world-famous Chink. And Bernie always stayed in touch with his lifelong friends like Al Maggie Maglin, Paul Frog Silverman, and Ronnie Rothis. In 1971, Bernie decided to pack up the family, including Uncle Paul, Aunt Margie, my cousins Jill and Diane, and we all moved to Detroit.
Watch your head, Granny.
We moved to a home on Hallcraft Lane in Southfield. That's when the real fun began. Our house was the place to hang out, and it was definitely the party house.
Hey, let's party! Come on!
But my dad was always a hard worker, and he was the consummate salesman.
Your young friend can use some help. This is it. $1 a bottle. It works wonders on wounds.
Wonders on just about everything, huh?
It can do most anything.
How much it was stained?
So, one thing I always remember is my dad taking me away for the summer and traveling with him while he's selling like ovenware and pots and pans, dishes. And he took me with him on the road and basically showed me how to sell. It was interesting because I remember I was 10, 11 years old. We were in St. Louis and we parked the van right downtown, right in front of a big building, opened those back doors, and basically I jumped out of the van with my flyer saying, $10 a set, we're closing them out. And I mean, that line came directly from my dad, so.
And here's the key, you would walk in with the frying pan and you would have them hold the frying pan, and the key, this is a Bernie Schwartz line, this is why the guy's so good. Feel the weight of the frying pan. Feel the weight of the frying pan. To this day, we will say things like, feel the weight of the frying pan when we're trying to sell something, but that goes all back to Bernie Schwartz.
That's what I remember about Bernie. You know, he could sell anything, okay, whether it was knives or you know, kitchenware. He had a thing back in the early 80s where, you know, when video games just came out, so they got a warehouse on Telegraph, and they started selling Pac-Man and video games, and they had all like 20 video games at this warehouse, and we would go there all the time and just play video games for free. That was a lot of fun.
I would never call my dad like he's a sales guy, okay? He's a natural. Like, even again, like when he grew up selling pins and pennants when he's 6, 7, 8 years old, like, he's not a salesman. He's just a schmoozer, you know? And it turned into, hey, I'm selling something, but he was selling himself. And he taught me how to do the same thing. And it's really helped me through my life.
They have that salesman gene. They just have it, and I don't think you can learn it. I think it's just something that you always have. They have the gift of gab. They can connect with people, and I think they're similar in more ways than they're different, really.
We were in the sports information business. So basically we were handicap destroyers. Okay, I'm sorry. We were bookie destroyers. We were like handicappers, you know? And we used to have clients all over the country that would call us for our tips. You know, we had inside information, you know what I mean? So my dad would basically teach me what to say on the phone to get the people to give me their credit card so I can give them our tip. So if we're like pedaling on the street, some cities don't like that very much. So the cops, they come and kick you out, right? So the code word for the cops were the bagels, okay? My dad used to say, oh, here come the bagels, you know? We knew like it's time to get out. So I remember one time we were like just unloaded the whole thing. We set up a beautiful display. And I'm like, oh, here come the bagels, knowing that they weren't really coming, but just so my dad was like, you know, and he to this day brings it up, you know, and it's just funny, you know. As far as family and friends go, if you were friends, you were family to the Schwartzes. Bernie's had hundreds of close friends over the years, and these days he loves to spend time with the Hermans, the Rosses, the Aronovitz, the Stones, the Applebaums, and of course, his partner in crime and confidant, Nancy Britt. If you can't find Bernie carving pumpkins, watching Nancy get her nails done, they might be playing pool or traveling to Maine.
I remember going to Detroit to visit, and the big house and the fancy car and the fancy clothes. Yeah, I thought Uncle Bernie was a pimp.
Well, it all started when he was in grammar school, Mr. Personality, in the 8th grade. Then came the swimming team, the pool room, work, and the pool room again.
Did you know that Bernie Schwartz is a world-class ballerina? It's true. When I was 3 or 4 years old, he used to teach me how to do all the jumps and all of the flips and all of the beautiful little ballet steps.
Has he had a long history of mental illness?
As long as I've known him. My papa knows best.
All of a sudden he goes into this Elvis Presley phase, okay? He busts out the clothes, the hot outfits and everything. And he goes to this place and he gets a rug, okay? Toupee. Not only is it just like a regular toupee, it's sewn into his head. It's literally stitched into his head.